Hey baby, internet girlfriend, cheers. We had dinner together last week, don't you remember? Do you remember that? I wanted to tell you about my week this week because you care to know. This isn't a one-sided relationship. I've been so bad. I've had pizza tonight and chocolate milk, and now I'm drinking whiskey and smoking the herbal. I'm bad, I'm cheating. So Hurricane Ida is about to strike New Orleans, where my distant family is from. Category 4. Another 100,000 people are dying from COVID in the projections. And Paul Stanley of Kiss, just cares about Kiss, tested positive for COVID, so they canceled the show. And it's just another day in the Anthropocene. Things I saw in the Anthropocene. I'm not sure what to call this video. But anyways, I wanted to tell you about a highlight this week I had. So went into an independent restaurant, meaning it's not a chain. A lot of businesses are closing, and a few others are opening around here. But this is one independent, privately owned company. So it's called Southern Food Company. They serve brunch and kind of like a American cuisine, like waffles and like black food that's been like whitewashed and made like cool, that kind of thing, with like a bar and stuff. So blah blah blah. I went in and they have a new bar that's like, it's like a square around, so it's more social, I guess, kind of like if you go into like any chain restaurant now. And two girls are sitting at the corner and they're chatting hardcore, like a lot, and they're both on their laptops and real busy sounding. And I knew this was going to take a long order because the restaurant's always slow. It's like just small staffed. I heard them talking, the chick next to me. So it was a girl next to me, and it was this real foxy looking girl. I think her name was Riley. I'm considering going back in and getting her like number sometime. She's like real foxy, kind of Brazilian, like not just kind of dark complexion, but white enough. Man, she was, her eyes was like life. Anyways, sadly, this is just the state of affairs, how brainwashed we are. They were talking about how much they are going to work. And I said, I'm sorry to interrupt. About after like 3 minutes of standing there, listening to their conversation. Mostly it was about like talking to their girlfriends, about being overworked. I wasn't up to date on like what they were doing or what they were pursuing, anything about their lives. These are just complete strangers. But I chimed in on that comment and I said, I don't dream of labor myself. And they laughed and said, oh yeah. And I said, yeah, I lived up my 20s and I've like already done all like my jobs. And they're like, wow, that's so cool, neat. And I said, yeah, I got to travel the country. I was an ophthalmic assistant, eye doctor assistant. And they're like, wow, like a physician assistant. And they're like, that's so impressive. Impressive, they said. They were still in confusion that their title is their reputation, is who is their being. That's a common mistake in our society, obviously. And I should have took that cue, because when I asked them what they were pursuing, they were like, oh, we're going to be lawyers. And I want to make a side note that like women can do anything nowadays. I see like groups of girls meeting up, older women, professional women. They're professional. They all got like nice cars. They don't fucking need us. Women don't fucking need us anymore. Or maybe we're the prize. Whoever commented that, young person, you're totally right. We're the prize. So now you got all the jobs now and stuff, but can you find a decent man? And you can't have kids. You can't have the best of both worlds. Anyways, I want to go down that road. Continuing with the story, I said, wow, that's a lot of work. You'll be working like 60, 70-hour weeks, and they were like, yeah, we know, we're not sure if we want to do this. I'm like, then don't fucking do it. And then I'm like, well, I just feel like as Americans, since we don't talk to, I always open with this because it's true, we don't talk to each other anymore. And I said, I feel like, I need to tell you that like, we don't have much longer, and there's going to be like mass famines, mass wars. I go through the whole spiel kind of like in 30 seconds, do a real quick version and kind of wash it, make it light. And to my surprise, they both were like, "Oh my God, yeah, I know. We just think about it all. Like we were just talking about the other day, and then we're like, man, should we even have kids?" I'm like, "No, don't have kids." And they were like, "Damn, don't have kids." And I told them I've been studying this, on and off for 6 years, and they were like, "Man, this is so," just like the Riley said, "Man, I'm like I took an environmental class my first semester, and that just like opened my eyes, and just like made me aware of the whole situation. And I know, and she's like, I know how bad it is. I know how bad it is." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's gonna be like 10 times worse than what you can imagine." But let's say that, and yet, they're so brainwashed. Whatever. Look, everyone has to go through their different stages in life. Everyone's in different time periods, like determining what they want to do. I got to this stage because I did what I want to do. I've already discovered myself. I went through the journey, and they have to go through that journey themselves. But I'm afraid that when they complete their journey, or even when they're 30 seconds, they're going to graduate and do their profession for 30 seconds, and then everything's going to come crashing down. But anyways, the girl that was not so attractive next to me, she was just plain, just flat, simple, like just kind of redheadish, just normal. And she's like, yeah, and she's explaining to me like, I just feel so helpless. Like, what can we do? And I would say they're both in their like early 20s, 24, 22. They were like, we just, we can't do anything about it. Like, there's nothing I can reasonably do. There's nothing I can do on a personal basis. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. It's how you should be feeling, helpless. That's totally right. I just remind them that this is it. I looked at both of them and I said, and I could tell it wasn't computing. I was like, all these people driving like BMWs and Mercedes, these are the wrong people they're telling it to, who like are going, they're obviously mesmerized with titles and profession. Like that is a marker of a successful human being. That my language doesn't communicate with them, but I try. I said, these people driving Mercedes and BMWs and living luxurious lifestyles, like they have to look back at their lives in 10 years and reflect on what they did or how they behaved, during this time. It was clear they felt helpless. It was clear they felt helpless about the situation. They knew the gravitas of the situation that we face, and yet they still pursued because they were indoctrinated to believe that this is the system and the way they got to go. And they both felt helpless. And I think that's a large part of why you don't see large mass scale movements like you did in the 60s and 70s perhaps. There's still large movements, but not on a scale if it kept up paces. We're all just trying to make a living, but we also know that it's hopeless. It's futile to even try to start a movement. And she said that too. The girl next to me was like, maybe you could like start a movement, but how even she realized it. Like even a little bit of thought, you'd be like, how far would that really go? Just amazing that that despite knowing that we are headed towards full-scale catastrophe, multiple simultaneous breadbasket failures across the world, and yet they still want to go and be lawyers. They're like, yeah, maybe we'll go to Florida and be like corporate lawyers for like, I don't know, there's eco warriors, like eco justice lawyers. It's like, no. You'll do that maybe for 5 seconds, but then how can you teach young people? You're so dumb and hot when you're young. Like Riley was just, she was smoking, but it's like, you haven't gone through the journey yet, and you don't really know what's coming. Like really, really know. You have an idea, but you don't really, really know like I do and the people on this channel do. I recommended her to my YouTube channel. I doubt she's watching this or even looked at this if she did, but I said type my name in her browser and look me up later and watch my videos anytime she gets like bored or is thinking about like eco environment. So I looked at some classes, moving on, I looked at some classes for like bicycle and like electric moped repair. That'd be useful skill in the apocalypse, is learning how to repair bicycles, because you'll be using them shits. Maybe using horses from time to time, but horses are a lot of upkeep. Horses you gotta feed and have a stable and land, it's all kinds of shit. You'll be just using like a bike and camping. Yeah, but the Republicans are trying to ask Biden to resign. I mean, that's the level of turmoil that we have in this country. We don't want either of those psychopaths on, Neither side, everybody hates each other. Everybody hates each other. And the last thing I got to talk about is how young people, I'm around a lot of young people in this town, which I like, but it also kind of like outsources me. Like as far as like what women are looking for, they're looking for the 22-year-old guy that's going to college. They don't want some washed up dude like me, basically free. Young people are all now the equivalent of psychiatric patients. There's a news article about this, and it was their attention span. I mean, clearly I'm pretty far out there, and I admit my mental defects, like, openly. I'm aware. But kids in, like, younger, I would say, like, 14 to, like, 24 are so, like, ADHD fucked in the head. Like, they can't even hold, like, everything's, what? Selfie, are you talking? It's whatever. I mean, they're borderline schizoid, hyper manic tendencies. They're all over the map. We really did a number. We did not anticipate the long-term effects that social media, internet use, screen time would have on the brains of especially developing adults in their teens and like early 20s. Man, it is like done fucked their head. Even though most of them are aware of the climate crisis, their ability to adapt and just maintain relationships is like, it's hard to connect. I'm going to stick with my video message to Zoomers. You're screwed. We're all screwed. Older, younger, we're all screwed. And I've come to my acceptance phase. I still feel the need to tell people because I feel it's my moral responsibility. However, I walk around with a new sense. I went to the library today and I read a book, skimmed through a book, the Stephen Levine's A Year to Live. The whole book, it's a great book. A Year to Live just is essentially, it's like a year of being a doomer, like accepting your death, realizing each moment, giving anecdotal reference to Native American tribes and different practices. And it was just very like comforting, even though we have more than a year to live left. Geological term, whatever. A year is not that long. Like the next 10 years isn't that long, is what I mean. So that's a good book. I recommend it. I also recommend Buddha's Brain. I think it's by Mark Hansen. Could be wrong. Anyways, I'm rambling now. The drink's kicking in. So I'm going to upload this and not try to be so extreme on my what's happening in the news. I realized last week's views were way down. Kind of a bummer. And if you made it this far in the video, thanks for being my date. One day I'll get out and mingle at nighttime. I mingle all day. I'm up at 7 a.m. But come nighttime, it's date time. All right. See what's happening in the world. Adios.